So Mase, day one of WatchTime Düsseldorf is in the books, and it was legendary. Stay tuned while we take you through some of the important happenings and highlights.
In prior years, we've attended events in New York, WatchTime, Wind Up, and this year we decided to take Horology Underground to a new location, Dusseldorf. By comparison, what was great about going to Dusseldorf, there was a smaller number of brands, but there was also a smaller number of participants, and that led to an amazing amount of access to brand representatives, watch designers, and even, I would say, watch kind of historians for their own brand. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, Mase, I mean, we weren't quite sure what to expect. I think we wanted to do something abroad. This made sense, the timing made sense, and so we said, let's do it. And boy, I would say day one exceeded my expectations by far. And we got really privileged, I would say privileged access and almost dedicated access, and nothing special, right? No, we didn't contact anyone beforehand. We walked in as true guests, but we're really treated to really intimate, in-depth exchanges with, I feel, senior leaders, senior executives, true stakeholders at a lot of these watchmakers. Crazy thing was how many exhibitors here in Dusseldorf said, we just came from Wind Up in New York.
And they said, what are you New Yorkers doing here in Dusseldorf? They couldn't believe that we left New York to come to Dusseldorf. They were kind of blown away by that. But that led to a lot of great conversation.
And we got so much information on many of these companies and a lot of the timepieces, some of which, frankly, I really was not very familiar with.
And we've seen this before. We've seen these kind of heritage brands that went through the quartz crisis and lay dormant for a long period of time. And there were two brands in particular who have done a really great job in kind of building back their brand through storytelling and tapping into their past. So, I know that you were really impressed by them. So you want to kind of take us through those two brands?
Yeah, Mase. So, for sure, the first one was a brand I had nothing about, I had never heard before. Pleading ignorance here was I'm probably going to butcher this, Favre-Leuba. And this is, they said that this is, they'd like to think of themselves as the second oldest watch company behind Blancpain.
Blancpain, yeah.
Now, of course, they had a massive shakeup. They were massively impacted by the quartz crisis. For the last 2 years, I think they have new ownership, and they've started to relaunch some brands. One of them, right, the THICC,
yep,
is very reminiscent of the famous Zenith Cairelli, that is very much sought after by collectors. Particularly for me, the one with the chocolate colorway was very striking.
The gentleman running the brand, I believe his name is Emmanuel,
yeah,
right? He had kind of a watch case, and when he saw how engaged we were, he went over, grabbed the case, and pulled out an original of the THICC, right? And he was comparing it to the new versions that have come out, and they were really kind of one-to-one creations, obviously with newer materials and and more advanced kind of manufacturing. But it was really great to see how heavily they were leaning on the heritage. I knew through probably a Hodinkee or a Fratelli article that they had relaunched, but it was through their Deep Raider, which kind of has a sector dial. It's a diving watch, really handsome. From what I remember, patinaed lume. And this was also kind of a reimagining of their original Deep Raider. And of course, Emmanuel took out his pouch again, and he had the original, and we did the comparison side by side.
Yeah, and the cool thing, one of the things that resonated with me most is the price points that they want to be at. 2,000 and 5,000 euros. They want to stay true to their heritage as a mid-market brand, and that's why the price points are where they are.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yep.
And they say that they're producing a lot of the components in-house.
Yeah.
Right? The movements are outsourced, but case, hands, things like this are produced in-house. So it was a really interesting story for me. And then, obviously, Mase, Nivada Grenchen, and the interactions with the folks at Nivada Grenchen was very similar. And they actually don't want to stray from any models that don't look like original Nivada Grenchens.
Yeah, they have their Depth Master, that's the one with kind of the Pac-Man numerals around the side. They have the Chronomaster Aviator Sea Diver. All right, I got that one. The Antarctique, and then the F77. That's the integrated sports
That's the
bracelet,
one
right?
we saw, yeah.
So I was at Wind Up a few years back and I tried on a couple of their watches, and they struck me as kind of a little bit stubby. And that's always kind of held me back from seriously considering buying one. But what was kind of interesting is that they're really starting to listen to their consumers, their customers, and they're thinking about widening the watch to address kind of modern consumers' taste, right? So making that CASD maybe a little bit wider, and maybe it won't feel as stubby. The F77, they offer it in 37 millimeters, right? They now have a 41 millimeter one. So that's the integrated sports bracelet. And around every turn of the conversation, they always kind of pointed back to their heritage. And their heritage is very important to them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a brand that's really in your wheelhouse, right? When you talk about kind of vintage chronos from the 60s and 70s and the relaunch, and that's the thing. I think this is the cool thing about watch shows like this, because you really brought your knowledge and excitement for this brand. It took the conversation to a different level. We engaged with the retail manager for EMEAF. I'm not sure how much sales they have in Africa, but certainly Europe and Middle East. The level of discourse and level of engagement was off the charts, Mason.
And he kind of like, hey, you got to see something. We have this collaboration with, we keep calling it, I think it's Colorform or something, but he took us away from his booth to show us this special collaboration that was in another section of the showroom, right? So that was just kind of how engaged we were with Nivada Grenchen folks. It was really great.
Yeah, but I tried on a 41 millimeter F77, and this thing fit like a glove. Even the bracelet was perfectly sized, right? And I was impressed by the fit of this. And you're right, Mace. I mean, you're talking about kind of the redesign. They recently launched this 41 millimeter version with a slight modification to the lugs to really make it a great fit on the wrist. And I have to say, I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
This was a watch that was not on my radar screen, and I felt that this was such almost a kind of a personalized, customized experience for me.
Yeah, and you're talking about watches kind of, I would say, up to about $2,300 to $2,500. I think this F77 in 37 millimeters is about $1,000, and I think at 41 it might be $1,300. Maybe it's euros versus US dollars, but kind of in that neighborhood.
And Mace, I would actually add another company to this list around kind of heritage and repositioning and getting on the map, which was Atlantic, a brand that I knew nothing about, a brand from the 19th century, right? I think if I'm not mistaken, it was 1880 something. Yeah. They don't have distribution in the US, which explains why I wasn't familiar with them, but also beautifully designed watches at affordable price points. I was particularly blown away by the model with the Aventurine Dial, which they were telling me was lower, less than 900 Swiss francs. Gorgeous Aventurine Dial, really, really was one of the big surprises for me.
Yeah, the price point was amazing.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, we could not believe that number. I think we asked 3 times for him to confirm, right, that what he was saying.
Yeah. On day one, I know that there were a couple brands that you were really looking forward to looking at their watches, talking with the folks. Who let you down?
Yeah, so this is interesting. I would say that, in a way, 2 of the top 3 folks that I really wanted to spend time with disappointed me. 2 big German brands, Stowa, and in fact, I wore my Stowa Flieger bronze to the show. And I have to say, the folks at the Stowa booth were very gracious and very nice. They recognized I was wearing a Stowa. We had a good conversation, but their presence was very timid. Yeah. I'd say, they had a small booth and they didn't have a lot of great timepieces.
What we noticed, brands were releasing kind of special watches for the event. This would have been a perfect opportunity for German brand Stowa to be releasing a new watch. All right, but I know that you had mentioned another watch was on your list.
Yeah, it was Hanhart, right?
Yeah.
A storied German brand known for its pilot's chronographs, right? I think we were both kind of juiced to see a Monopusher chronograph from Hanhart. And they had one that was a giant. It was 45, it was a brick, 45 millimeters, you know, with the very iconic, I dare say, red wrapped upper Monopusher. But I don't know who could wear this thing. It was so big and heavy on this metal bracelet.
Yeah, it was a cylinder. It was basically a tuna cannon. I don't know if that translates to every country.
Yeah, for our friends in Canada, think about a steel hockey puck.
Right. I think both of us went into the show thinking that this is a possibility of a purchase to bring home, right? And both of us left like, that's not a wearable watch, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, we did look at the Pioneers. They had a couple of interesting Pioneer models, but they didn't have the Monopushers, right?
No,
and they were also thicker at, you know, again, I agree, Mace, there's no way that Pioneer is 15 mil. But at the end of the day, I have to say, very nice and very knowledgeable at the Hanhart booth, but it disappointed me in terms of wearability, and therefore, you know, it wasn't something I was going to purchase.
Yeah. Up next, what were your surprises?
So a few surprises here. I mentioned Atlantic, right?
Yep.
We could put that on the list. But the Laco booth was amazing. They had a lot of real estate. They really shamed Stowa.
Yeah.
Because again, so many times you think Stowa and Laco, they're almost interchangeable, flieger DNA. The innovation that Laco is bringing to the table is amazing, but the presence that they had at the show in terms of personnel, but also watches that they brought, top notch, okay? And we had an amazing interaction.
Yeah.
We were there with those guys 20, 25 minutes. They were super patient, super gracious. We tried on 10 watches.
The pile of watches right in front of us. It was amazing. Yeah.
And they're turning 100 this year, right? They're doing a special promotion, a special giveaway. It's a gorgeous watch. We'll show you that as well. Again, I knew Laco, but they blew me away. I wouldn't say this is a surprise, Mace, but I wanna call out Sinn's presence at this show as being very noteworthy. They seem to be one of the anchor participants, right? One of the anchor exhibitors at the show. They had a really big booth at a prominent location. And again, I want to give a shout out to Patrick, who helped us, again, spending about 20, 25 minutes with us. Super patient as we looked through, again, probably 10 pieces at least. We looked at the U15, U18, right? The
U16,
new models.
yeah.
Some of the traditional ones like the 140 and 144, right?
Yeah.
And then we looked at he showed us one of their new chronographs, which had a manual wind, mechanical chrono movement. Is one of the nicer top 2 or 3 most beautiful pieces we saw today, or at least I saw today.
Yeah. From the movement to the color, and we joked about this with Patrick, right? The U15, U16, U18, those are the models that are made out of actual submarine steel, right? From actual submarines. And on the dial, there are kind of the bubbles there, right? Well, this chrono that Mex is talking about had a blue bezel, blue dial, blue chronograph subdials, right? One of the subdials, I think at 3 o'clock, had kind of some orange highlights. The chronograph hand was orange. And when you flipped it over, it had an amazing movement, right? Reminiscent, maybe I'm putting them in kind of rare air here. I am prone to exaggeration, but A. Long and Zuna, right? It's just kind of the German watchmaking. You made reference of this during the show, but that watch is beautiful. I think if they had it for purchase, Mex would have bought it, and if he didn't, I probably would have. This is a limited edition watch, one of 250.
Correct. That chrono just launched, and they showed us a prototype model, right? Which is really cool, right? Again, that's a type of interactivity, the type of engagement you have at shows like this.
In the US, we don't have a lot of exposure to Sinn getting hands-on, right? To the best of my knowledge.
None.
They don't go to Wind Up, they don't go to WatchTime, right? So
they don't have any ADs.
That's right.
They only sell on the internet through watch buys.
Right.
And we learned in Canada it's a different story. They have 4 ADs, 4 ADs in Canada. But it's the first time I've been able to get hands-on with Sinn. It's a great point, Mace. It was really a positive interaction.
Yep.
Final hot take is my serious takeaway, which is the folks from Kudoke absolutely blew me away in terms of the craftsmanship of their watches, and that harkened to other really independent horology players like a de Bethune, right? Like a Groenewald, right? Despite the fact, and they seem to be, this is a brand that seems to be building an interest and buzz. We've heard their name come up in some circles. I believe Fed had a watch for sale at Delray Watch. The unfortunate thing is they had no watches to sell at the show, but that's part of their story, right? Is they make watches to order. And when I asked is what that timeline looks like, is it the 2 years that you might expect from a Lang or something like this? Their response was actually quite reasonable, 6 months.
Yeah.
The watches ranged in price from probably about an entry level at 5,500 euros to upwards of probably 20,000 euros.
Yes.
Very, very impressive. I talked about the Aventurine Dial from Atlantic. They had a beautiful Aventurine Dial for, I think it was about 12,000 euros. This is something I would seriously considering adding to my collection, and that's serious takeaway from day one.
We look back on the day, it feels like a blur. We were probably there 3.5 hours. We met with, a dozen brands. We're looking forward to going back and targeting some brands that we didn't see today. But we'll give you an update, on kind of the total show. So look forward to that episode.